those.
Hello, Richard. Richard.
Hi, Lucas. Good to see you again.
Yeah. How are you doing? How are you doing?
Yeah, fine. Did some dancing yesterday, so yeah, cool.
It's always good. That's always good.
It
So,
is.
you're here for a second time, aren't you?
Yep.
So, well, one of your main points is that you are a DJ, but in the previous interview, we didn't really talk about that because we had so much else to talk about. So, I would say that it's it's a great opportunity to meet again, just for just to talk about this DJing aspect. And yes, I really like that. Depending on whether people have already seen your video or not, but I recommend them to watch your previous video. But if they have, it's a great thing that we already kind of know who you are. And then we can just focus on one thing, which is the DJing, and that's a kind of format I want to repeat with other people if possible, other DJs or other people or teachers, people who are just busy with one thing, and that we can talk about in depth. So can you give us a short summary of who you are, just for people who haven't watched the first video, just a short introduction, so to say?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Richard, obviously. Live in the Netherlands, in Haarlem, very close to where you live. We've been dancing tango, I think, for 11 years now. So
Who are we?
A while. Sorry, yeah, Petra and I, my wife and I, Petra and I, we're in this tango journey together, and she's not DJing, by the way, but we make videos together and everything. So we've been dancing for 11 years now, and since 2015, beginning of 2015, I started as a tango DJ as well. Which is now already 7 years ago. So I've been doing that for a while as well. Well, I think that's a short introduction.
Yes, and you also make videos, right, about music?
Yeah. We have a YouTube channel, Tango Music Tutorials, and we have some videos about, well, orchestra, singers, Thunders of the Week. We do them every other week, but we call it Thunder of the Week anyway. So that's kind of instructive but fun. Let's put it like that. Yeah.
And what's the audience?
Well, it's basically for people who like to dance tango and are interested in the music and perhaps are not that familiar with all the orchestras and all the singers and all the tangos. It's like a Tango 101 entry-level videos.
Yes.
So if you want to get acquainted and you're not an expert yourself yet, then these are good videos to watch.
Yes, because I think that was the idea of the channel, and something nobody was doing.
Yeah, that was the idea. We were looking for something like that on YouTube. We couldn't find it. I mean, there are lots of tandas on YouTube, but usually that's just the music and no explanation whatsoever. And of course, there are people that write blogs and books about tango music, but that's usually geared at, let's say, more the people that already have some knowledge about the tango orchestras and the history. So we wanted to do an entry-level thing because it wasn't there yet.
Yes, okay, very clear. So I recommend people to watch the first interview, which is linked in the description below, if you're interested in learning more about this and other aspects of Richard's tango life. But for now, let's focus on the DJing. So can you tell us how and why you started DJing in the first place?
Well, actually, I started DJing quite early. I think I was 14 or 15 when I did my first DJ gig, so to speak, which was at a school party, and no tango whatsoever. And well, a classmate of mine, his parents had a restaurant here in Haarlem, and they had a big basement with a place where you can have parties. So that's where we had our parties with our class, with school. And I was very much into music, and I always wanted to, when I heard something new on the radio, I wanted to let other people hear that and everything. So I was very much into music, and I liked dancing, but I was sort of too shy or self-conscious to, to dance with other people around. So what do? Then you become a DJ. So that's what I did, just for fun. And I've always been busy with music in some form. I worked at a record store when I was in college as a side job. My father played guitar. He was very much into Brazilian music, for instance. So yes, it was always part of my life. Then at some point, as I said, 2010, we started dancing tango. And yeah, then at some point I thought, well, maybe it's an idea to combine these things, the love for tango, although we sort of had to get used to the actual tango music when we started. With DJing, which was something I like to do as well, and yeah, that worked out quite well. By the way, I have to click away something in my screen now because Windows wants to update, and I don't want to have that now. Yeah, that's the downside of Windows. It always wants to do things you don't want to do.
Yes. And okay. So you already had a background in DJing and music in general, in a sense, maybe not playing music, but with an instrument, I mean. But you had some, well, a lot of broad knowledge about music.
I had played some guitar before, but I haven't touched the guitar for, I think, 20 years at least now.
Okay.
Sadly, but you can't do everything. You have to make choices, I guess. Yeah, my background is really, well, let's say pop music and slightly alternative pop music in a broad sense. Unlike some other DJs that come more from the realm of classical music or jazz. And yeah, and I think it's kind of wanting to entertain people as well.
So you're a natural DJ in a way.
Yeah, but yeah, but before I started as a tango DJ, it was just once in a while, it was not something I did on a very regular basis. It's like every now and then, but I always like to do that. So yeah. And then I got the opportunity to, sorry.
No, that's what I wanted to ask. So more specifically about the beginning of tango.
Yeah. And then I got the opportunity
trying to say that, yeah.
To start with my own teachers, Charlotte and Laurent, you know them. They have, or they had at the time, a weekly practica, which was attracted quite a lot of people on Wednesdays. And well, I don't know how I got to that, but I just asked them, can I DJ at your practica, just to see if that works. And they were so kind to say, yeah, go ahead. And so that's January 2015 was my first time that I DJ'd for them. And I remember I asked them, I think early November or something. And so they said yes. And then I didn't really panic, but I realized I had to have music then.
Yeah, quite a good idea.
Yeah. I spent like 2 months gathering music from all kinds of places, and At first downloading them from obscure sites, but also buying them on iTunes, and sometimes in very good transfers, and other times these are the transfers you can't really use. But anyway, you have to start somewhere. And I start looking like what are other DJs doing. So there's these people that wrote blogs about DJing. So I think I read them all. And they had their tandas that they wrote about, and I basically started copying that, which, by the way, is my recommendation for anyone who starts DJing. First start and look what other people are doing, and just start copying things, and then keep the things you like, and change it over time more to your own liking, your own taste. Yeah, I think with many things, it's it's basically, if people who are really doing it are doing it in a certain way, it's probably not the worst way to start. So yeah, that's what I did, and then it went really fast, because January I did my first practica. I think March I did my first milonga in The Hague, and October the same year I did my first festival in Rotterdam. So that was kind of a quick start there.
Yeah. You got immersed into it very quickly.
Yeah, and I have to be very grateful to people giving you the chance, because someone has to think, yeah, I believe he can do that, and just give you the opportunity. So yeah, thanks to all these people that gave me the chance to do it.
Great. And maybe, is there also a why in this story?
Why?
Yeah, because now you answered the how part. How did you start, and why did you start?
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's kind of obvious, but still, I'd like to hear it from.
Yeah. Well, why? It's something like I think I said that already in adolescence I had this sort of inner urge to get, when I heard something new, play it to other people. Yeah, did you hear this? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's part of it. I don't think I can really pinpoint it. It's not like I can. No, it's a kind of urge, but why the urge? That's something I don't really know, but and I love doing it, and it's really weird because sometimes I don't DJ for a while. A while means a couple of weeks, and then it's get this feeling like I want to DJ again. Usually there's already something planned. And when I really DJ really a lot, then you don't dance that much, and then you get this feeling like I want to dance more. So, but there's something inside that really wants to do this and really enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but it took you a while to get used to the music, right? After you started dancing. So
yeah,
is this like a development in parallel that you kind of got
I think
used?
So. Yes. When I started dancing tango, we started at a place that also did quite a lot of neo tango and alternative music, but also just traditional D'Arienzo, Di Sarli, etc. Tango, and it's kind of painful to admit, but at first we almost danced tango in spite of the music. It's like it's.
You're probably not the only one.
It felt a bit boring. It takes a while to really appreciate it, I think.
You're probably not the only one. I mean, I can't speak from experience because I started dancing because of music, but most
Yeah.
people are not really used to this type of music, and I think they're more inclined, especially if they have a broader musical background, and they're more inclined maybe to like this alternative music because it's closer to pop taste or whatever.
Yeah, it's in a way closer to what you're already used to.
Yeah.
At least when you grew up here in Northern Europe. So yeah, and it's in that sense, it's a bit of an acquired taste. And again, this kind of tango is also quite different than the kind of tango that I mean, in the 1980s, Astor Piazzolla became very popular here, and that was very much promoted and conceived as the real Argentine tango, which in a way it is, but in another way it isn't really.
Yeah, I think you told us last time about that.
I mean, that's a whole subject on its own.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then to start again with the Canaro, Di Sarli, the D'Arienzo, that's yeah, you have to grow into it. It's in a way it's an acquired taste, I think. But it's what I think is really true is when you really pay attention to it and when you really listen to it, and the more you listen, and I still have that, the more you listen, you keep discovering new things in the music. Mm-hmm. So it's actually worthwhile to try it.
Yes.
Yeah. So coming back to your question, yeah, diving more into that kind of music kind of went in parallel with the idea to start DJing. And the other way around, when I started DJing, of course, I started to listen in a different way to the music, and it also influenced my dancing, of course. So that's kind of, these things go in parallel.
Yeah, some kind of reinforced development.
Yeah,
like mutually.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And I think you also told me once that you gradually came to like the traditional music more than the alternative music you maybe started with as a dancer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as let's say as a beginner dancer, although I like dancing to the traditional tango music, it was whenever they put, well, let's say Goten Project or something, and it was like, oh yeah. And yeah, that got more and more to the background, and of course I think it's still okay to that there are people that like to dance to alternative or tango electronica or whatever. I think that's totally fine. But my journey went more towards the traditional, yeah. Although every now and then, I mean, it can be like playtime for tanda. I mean, one tanda night, it's fun to play, but yeah.
Well, I shouldn't not.
I'm more inclined to the traditional now.
Yeah, I personally shouldn't not, because I don't agree. But that's the cool thing about these interviews, because you can just
yeah, we don't have to have
other perspectives. Yeah.
No. I mean, I think these are very personal preferences, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that brings us to another question, because other than most people, you are a DJ who does both sides, and there might be an interesting discussion, like what are the differences between DJing purely traditional and DJing with these other things in mind, and what your opinions are about it. And like, I'd really love to hear something about that, because this is an opportunity to talk with someone who has both kinds of expertise. So that's very interesting, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, I think both type of milongas. I mean, they're both called milongas in general. But let's say the traditional milonga and the, let's say, mixed milongas, where you have part of the night also playing alternative music. I mean, these are related in a way. They're similar, but there's also a very big, or very big. There's also a difference. It is a different type of milonga whether you have a very traditional one or you also play different kind of music. And when I look at the let's say 80-20 or whatever it is, kind of milongas, I think it does have a function to have some different types of music as well. And I think it's a bit similar, like in Buenos Aires you have milongas where they also have a tanda with rock and roll or cumbia, and it kind of breaks the tension a bit. It's kind of a light-hearted moment in the evening, and for some people this may be kind of like an unbearable lightness, but no, it does have a function. Now there are people that like it, there are people that love it, and there are people that totally despise it. I know people that just call it a very long cortina, which kind of makes sense. But I do believe it does have a function, in the sense that it gives some breathing space. Only it also for the DJ it also brings some extra. I mean, you really have to think about the way how to put it in. We have a traditional setup of we have tango, waltz, milonga, tango, waltz, tango, milonga, etc. Yes, this framework. And you also have to play with where do you put the rhythmical, where you put the lyrical, and where do you put the sung tangos and the instrumental ones. And I mean, that's already, and you have to play with the energy, stuff like this. That's already a kind of skill that you need to. I mean, you have a framework, but you have to make it come alive. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
And now you have these other things in between. And while I do think it does have a function to have these things in between, it also kind of knocks over the whole idea of the framework that you had in place. So it does have an impact on, I mean, what are you going to replace? When I play a neo tanda, am I going to replace a tango tanda for it, or am I going to put it in as an extra one? Or and it does have an impact on the whole flow. And the funny thing is, some people, at least that's my feeling, tend of almost look down on DJs that also do these type of nights. like labeling you, like yeah, he plays neo, something like that. Well, actually, to do it right and still maintain the idea of really having a milonga, it's just an extra. In a way, it's an extra complication. It's almost like you need an extra skill to do it right. But yeah, that's my opinion then.
Yeah, but like with everything, it requires a lot of practice and experience to do it well. So you need to actually go out there and try things, and then sometimes you fail and sometimes you succeed. But it seems like it's actually like I know I couldn't do it. It's just I don't know the music that I would use, and I don't know what people want, and I don't know how to implement it. And it's just a really strong sense of like I lack the self-confidence to do this. Also the interest, obviously, but if I do take it seriously as some kind of style that some people want, and I know I cannot deliver if people want this type of milonga. But then there are those who know how to do both things. And maybe there are even people who only know how to do the neo thing, but I'm not quite sure because it's just not as common.
That's kind of a recent development, like neo that almost disappeared in Holland. And well, we look over the last decade, and in 2010 it was very popular. Around 15-ish, became much less popular. But nowadays there's actually also like full-time neo longas popping up every now and then.
Okay.
Yeah, well, fine. Fine.
But that might not be your style, right?
Well, yeah, I could do it, but I wouldn't call it a neo longa probably. But yeah, I mean that's, yeah, it's also DJing. It's not a thing I like worse. But the thing I think for me is most difficult is these 50-50 kind of venues where it's like 50% tango and like 50% neo and alternative stuff. And yeah, I don't want to do those because for me personally it becomes too much of a, it becomes a bit messy, like I don't know, I'm lost then.
Okay. Yeah,
But
it's hard to explain if you're not familiar with that feeling. But you've experimented so much with these different types of DJing that you're bound to run into things that are just harder than others. And yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, and it's also like I still want to have this even when I mean I also do, you know, the purely traditional milongas and festivals, etc. And then you have this specific type of journey that you make from musical standpoint, or together with the audience, with the dancers. And when I do a different type of milonga, I still want to have that kind of feeling. But when it becomes too much, it's like there's a tipping point somewhere where I sort of lose this feeling. But that's me. That may be very different for other DJs or other dancers that want to have more of it. Fine. Yeah, I mean, I think every DJ, well, we're doing, in a sense, we're doing the same thing, but we also have our own individual, I mean, you know, I am me, you are you. We're different people, and you bring yourself with you when you do this.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Even though I do think when you DJ, it's not about the DJ. You know, it's you provide a service to the dancers. That's number one.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about that later. Just the last question about this topic. Like you said that you eventually like the traditional music more than the neo music. What does that mean for DJing with this neo part, or like does it become more difficult, or do you feel like you want to do more traditional or more traditional only, or do you still like both things? Like, is there some kind of development in that?
Yeah, I still like to do both things. I do. Well, when I started DJing, I prepared the whole set when I did a DJ set. So when I did a 4-hour milonga, I prepared a playlist for the whole milonga, so to speak. That's the way I did it for the first, I don't know, 3-4 years or so. And of course, I didn't always play the whole playlist, because you see this next tanda coming up and you think, nah, that's not the time for this tanda, so it needs something. It needs something else. And then when you start changing this one, then the next one will probably change as well. And so sometimes I ended up playing like 80% of what I prepared, and other nights I ended up playing just 30-40% of what I prepared. But anyway, I prepared the whole set up to a certain point, when especially when you're a regular DJ at a certain milonga, and you know the people, you know their preferences, they know you. It became too easy. So at a certain point, I could just play the whole set and it would be fine. But then it becomes kind of boring, because then it's only a matter of when do I press start for the next song. I mean, there's not much fun in that. So you have to keep it interesting for yourself as well. So then nowadays I don't do this type of preparation anymore, except for one thing. When I DJ at a kind of milonga with also let's say non-traditional music, I do prepare some of the neo or non-tango tandas, because I find it yeah, more difficult to invent them on the spot than you know. I know when I need a Disarli Podesta tanda, for instance, and you know, and see Disarli Podesta, and I know, well, there's lots of them to choose from, but I also I will be able to choose them on the spot, no problem. But with different type of music, I do have to prepare that, so that there's a difference in the sense that takes more preparation, which I think also means it's in a way, well, I think it kind of shows my personal preference for the more and more knowledge by now, I think, for the more traditional music than the alternative stuff.
Okay.
And it's also something funny, because there's a lot of people that really like to dance to, you know, neo or whatever you want to call it. So they want to hear something different, but many of them want to hear the same different thing. So you have these greatest hits. The Tango Disney Velis, I don't know, Una Noche Mas, you name them. And there's a very strong preference to kind of almost always want to hear the same alternative, so to speak, songs.
Alternative suddenly becomes very traditional.
Exactly.
Life is ironic. But,
yeah, life can be ironic in some respects, yes. And that's also something that you want to. I mean, you do want to play the things that people want to hear and want to dance to, but you also want to keep it interesting for yourself. So I don't want to play Una Noche Más every night that I do one of these. I mean, nothing wrong with the song, and I do play it every now and then, but I've heard it a lot.
and is that so? Do you then have the freedom to play the things you want to play?
Yes, but it does. I mean, like anything, it does depend on where you're DJing. So right. There are places where you can experiment more, and there are places where I mean, you should sort of keep it easy.
Okay, so let's transition into another topic that's very much tied to a lot of things that have already been discussed, but it's also a very broad question. But so, what's your DJing philosophy? I'd like to hear something about that, some opinions, some. It's just yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing I already mentioned, and I think I mean, it's a common thing, and I think almost every DJ will say the same thing. It's that you DJ as a service to the dancers. You DJ for the dancers and not for yourself. I always say if I want to DJ for myself, I can do that at home at the attic. I don't have to do that in front of an audience. Click this away again. Really, yeah, that's really well. Anyway, so that's one thing. And now, and yeah, I mean that's a common thing, but I don't think everybody really always lives up to that. So I've been to milongas where the DJ would go on all night playing tangos that I knew, but always these unknown versions with different orchestras, different singers, like here what I have in my collection. Well, as I say, if something's an unknown version, there's a reason for that. So please don't. No, I mean it's okay to. I do believe in it's a kind of 80-20 rule. I mean, so I play a lot of the so-called greatest hits. The tangos that everybody knows and loves to dance to. Why? Well, first of all, there's a reason why these are so popular. But also because people do like to hear and dance to tangos that they know. In general, if you know the music, you actually dance better to it than to music that you never heard before. Because dancing is about interpreting the music, and it does help if the music is kind of already in your the memory of your body, so to speak. So I think in a way it should be a feast of recognition, and on the other side, there's I also like to put in some some new things or lesser known things, but not too many. Just a bit, keep it interesting, but don't overdo it. So yeah, that's That's one thing, and target at your audience as far as you can, which means that I mean I DJ for well, different milongas, different organizers. Some organizers have very specific ideas, or some audiences are very different, so you tune into that as much as you can. Now there's another side to that as well. There are DJs that say it's one of these kind of common sayings that you have to read the floor like all the time. You have to always be busy with the floor and always think about what the people on the floor need for the next standard. But I don't entirely believe in that either. I mean, I think what happens when a DJ somewhere is that you know, the dancers and I, we go on a journey together. So yes, they influence what I'm doing, but I'm also influencing what they want next. So it's not like like the audience dictates what the next standard will be. I think if you're doing the job right, you can, you know, you take the audience with you. And it's also a strange feeling, because sometimes you have this DJ somewhere and you know, you start and it's like, okay, well, it's always okay, but well, nothing special. And at a certain point in time, you have this feeling like, yeah, now there's this atmosphere. Now I have them or something. I don't know what it is. And when you have that together, then there's a lot you can do. I won't say you can play like anything, but you can really at a certain point in time you can really take them where you want to take them, which is a great feeling, and kind of addictive. So maybe that's one of the reasons why I do this.
Keep doing it.
Yeah, and it's not like that every night, of course, but usually at some point in the evening we get there. It's like, yeah, now we have this, and it's really hard. I don't have a word for it, but yeah.
That's very yeah. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah, and and then part of tuning into the audience, it's also something that various areas want different things. I remember I DJ'd in Copenhagen once. We were there for a weekend, and because we were going there, we had contact with one of the organizers, and she said, yeah, you can come DJ on Saturday, which was really nice. And Friday night we went to a milonga in Copenhagen, and I think it had just started for half an hour. I think it was a 4 or 5 hour milonga. We came in half an hour after it started, and we were playing like 1950s Pugliese when we entered. I thought, well, that's a bit early, but okay. And then the next was very rhythmical D'Arienzo, followed by I think very rhythmical Tantui, and just lots of energy, and just went on and on and on like that. And then another really grand Pugliese again, and it just just like this all the time, and there was nothing lyrical, quiet, nothing. So I think after 90 minutes we left because we were tired. And yeah, okay. And then the next night, Saturday night, I was going to DJ other venue, same city, and I kind of played like I usually do. And then at some point I played a Disarli Tanda, and the floor just went empty, like almost empty. And so I was a bit surprised because the night before I thought, well, I thought not my kind of DJ. That's sort of what I thought. And then I realized, like, and I mean, these are just 2 milongas, and these are the only 2 milongas I went to in Copenhagen. So maybe there's a totally different scene as well there. I don't know. But these people, they didn't really care for more melodical tangos very much. So yeah, then I mean, then you do have to change your what you would usually do. But I was very surprised at that. Yeah, so lots of dancer that night.
Okay, and that doesn't sound too balanced.
No, and but I'm not saying all Copenhagen is like this. I mean, I just went to 2 milongas. That's it. It can be, and it's a few years ago as well. So maybe people from Copenhagen see this and think this guy's crazy. It's not like that. Oh, sorry, that was my personal experience. Yeah, so that can happen. And then you do have to adapt, of course. I mean, there's not much fun playing for an empty dance floor.
No. So you went out really tired.
Well, actually,
just like the night before, but
actually, well, we did have a good time, and these people were very friendly, and there was wine and empanadas, and I don't know, it was a great night.
Okay.
Just a different kind of set than I would usually play.
Yeah. So your own philosophy is closer to the type of alternation kind of.
Yeah. It's like this. I usually start a bit like a wave. I usually start a bit like kind of simple dance music, and then sort of build it up, and then sort of. So you get this flow in energy waves, and with the more complex music somewhere in the middle. I mean, I don't start with Buenos or Troilo, for instance, but I love Buenos and Troilo, but it's not something I start with, and it depends. I mean, the final can be either like really romantic, or it can be just going out with a bang. It kind of depends on the night.
Okay. So maybe more in general, like, what do you like about tango DJing? It's also a very broad question, but let's just see where it goes from here.
In a way, there's various things I like about it. One part of it is what it brings me personally in appreciating the music, because I DJ, I dive into it more. And it's something, and you learn from that. You get to know the music better, and you get to know more music, and it really changed the way I danced. I won't say improved, but it did change the way I danced. So that's one thing that brings me personally in appreciating the music.
And that keeps going on, like that continues.
Yeah, and also with the videos we make, because let's say like a ton of the week, then you also go into the background, who was the composer and what's the lyrics about, and something that we don't always in this part of the world pay so much attention to, because this is not a Spanish speaking country here. But also the lyrics in the music, like for instance, I did a Fun of the Week video on Milongas by Laurens. There's so many layers in that, and you don't really hear them that consciously when you just dance to the music. When you're really building a tunnel or making a video about that, you listen in a different way.
Yeah, then maybe after that influences your dancing. When you dance to it, you reach deeper level, and now you can hear more, you dance better to it in a musical sense. I mean, that's a never-ending thing.
Yeah, and it's not because you consciously think now this is coming now, but it's kind of, and because it just happens at that moment.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. Another thing is liking to DJ. Well, it's like I said, you want to, I don't know, part of me wants to entertain people, I guess.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of appreciation back for it. And of course, I mean, yeah, you shouldn't be dependent on that, sure, but still, it's nice to be appreciated. So yeah, I mean, that's a thing as well. Yeah, things like that. I have a certain role that night, but also you have a certain role in keeping a community alive, or building up a community. I think we have a very nice tango community here in Haarlem and surroundings. So there's also very much a social aspect to that, even though DJing is kind of a solitary job, but still. Yeah, so there's various aspects about it, I think.
Yes, well, that's very interesting also to explore for yourself, like why am I doing this, in a sense. Like, it sounds a bit dramatic, but I mean it very literally. So why do I do this? Why do I keep doing this? And yeah, I guess the social aspect of it is very important, because otherwise you could just stay at home and play some music there. But the point is that you want to connect to people in one way or another, and maybe also do something for them. And yeah, that's very nice. And some of these things might not be what you expected when you started with it. But and I don't mean you in specific, but in general, I like you discover things along the way. I think that's the most important thing to realize here, is that your perspective might also change over time, and some things that are less important to you now may be more important in 10 years from now. So you can't really know. But I do really personally feel like this social aspect is just so important.
It is,
and actually, I always have to think about Derek Del Pilar. So translated a lot of tangos from English. Like he said, like in my normal daily life, I mean, my normal daily life is very normal in a sense. Like it's just not out of the ordinary. It's just I just work a job and I have a husband and whatever. That was his story. But at the same time, when he's DJing or translating, and he knows that people like what he does, like he kind of becomes a personality, or he's famous in one way or another. Whereas in his normal life, he's just like, well, that's his words, of course, but he's just like anyone else. And here you usually you get a lot of recognition, approval for what you do, and that's a great thing, because it's a lot of work sometimes, and you could also not do it and just consume. But we are actually people who also add something, and you still need to organize this, and you need the audience, and you need everything. But so you're only a part of what's happening, but still it's important to feed your tango community, or whatever tango community where you're DJing, by just doing your job and doing it well. So
yeah, and you're right. There's so much time that goes into it, and I think lots more than people realize, because if you DJ somewhere for a 4-hour milonga or something, well, people see you for 4 hours, and maybe they realize that you have to be there in time and connect everything, and so maybe they realize it's a bit more than 4 hours, but I don't think that people realize all the hours that go into gathering the music, buying lots of stuff, but also looking for that perfect tender. So there's also always kind of a quest, and then you have the perfect. Well, let's say you have. Let's say I have the perfect Biaggi Ortiz tanda. Fine. And there's quite a few to choose from, but let's say I have the perfect one, and then I play that somewhere, and I play the same tanda somewhere else, and but by the time I played the same tanda 4 or 5 times over a period of time, then by that time I kind of want to have something else, which is kind of difficult, because I just had the perfect one, so I have to find a new version of the even more perfect one. And that's never ending. It's never ending. But
that's also great, isn't it? Like you can like whatever you liked half a year ago, it might slightly change over time, and then now you suddenly really want to play the 4 same songs, maybe in a different order. I'm just saying something random, but who knows?
Happens. Yeah. And there are certainly tandas that I played the first 3-4 years when I was DJing that I don't play anymore. I know a few, but I'm not going to mention them now. Okay. But there are. Like there will be tandas that I play now that in let's say 5 years from now, I think and it's also that's also your personal taste develops or changes over time, or part of it all.
So another question I had is like, is there any like interesting anecdote you have about like from your DJing career, like something that really stays with you in a way?
Apart from the one about Copenhagen.
Well, that maybe in a more positive way, I guess.
More positive. Well, it's weird. That's a weird thing, because it's always the times that something goes wrong that you kind of remember. I don't know if that's the same with you. If everything goes like perfect, you have this great feeling, but it's not like it doesn't stick with me as an anecdote. The feelings.
Well, maybe not an anecdote, but maybe someone who made a compliment, or someone who showed their appreciation. It can be anything.
Yeah, it can be. Well, as an example of that, and then I go to the other kind of stuff that can also happen. No, quite recently, I met someone. She's organizing her own milonga, and she's DJing as well as her own milonga. She's not DJing very long yet. And she said, "Yeah, you're so great to see you again, because you are an example for me. It's I like to do it the way that you do it. You know, that's and you know, we have this video, but there are also as a playlist on Spotify these tandas, and she said, yeah, I really like them, and I use them as a sort of source of inspiration for me. And that's really a big compliment that someone, well, in this case, that takes me as you know, as a starting point for their own journey in DJing, just like I did when I started. You know, the people that I looked at, like how are they doing this? Apart from the various blogs, but Ferdinand was at the time still DJing, and he was really an example for me, like what I want to do as a DJ. And maybe I do it very different now than he did it then, but it was like so. Yeah, that's for instance, that was a great compliment. And that's all. What sticks with you is all the times things go wrong. When you have it somewhere and you just cannot get the sound right because of the acoustics or the installation, or and one of the worst things that ever happened to me was, and I think that was my second festival. I was DJing at a marathon in Amsterdam years ago, and middle of the set, and it was rather busy, and my laptop just froze on me. So it was still playing the song, but it didn't react to any buttons or anything anymore. So yeah, so the song ended, and that was that. And it didn't want to restart again, even a hard reset. It didn't want to do it again. Luckily, there was someone with an iPad, so we plugged in that as a backup, and played some Calo, I think. Yeah, it was Calo from there. And I, for the second time, had to restart, and it took like almost 10 minutes before the whole thing was working again. And I mean, I was dying inside, because imagine you're there with, I don't know, 100 dancers, and your equipment just, you know, fails you. Ever since, I always have a backup laptop with me, or backup something, but it will never happen to me again that I can't continue. I think I spent some nights lying awake after that. That was really terrible. And afterwards, someone came to me and said, "Yeah, you look so in control and calm." And inside, I was kind of dying. I think we all had our moments with equipment failing, and I mean, it's really terrible when you either because of the acoustics you can't get the sound right, or things like that. Yeah. But it does happen sometimes, not too often. No. I know I always have my backup now, so
yeah.
Touch wood, it won't happen again.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Yeah. So you said you couldn't sleep because of what happened. So do you ever dream about tango DJing? So is this something totally improvised? But I used to have a lot of dreams where things don't work, or where my computer dies, or like it's just
this is kind of a standard dream, you know, with anything you do. I also still dream that I didn't finish school, or didn't finish my college. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I tend to kind of forget the details of what I'm doing, but yeah, it does happen sometimes, and it's always something.
Chaos.
It's very crowded, and then everything goes wrong. Yeah. And there's just no music, or you play something and the floor just empties. Yeah.
Okay.
I had it once with, and that was real life. I had it once at a milonga, and it was there weren't so many people, which is already harder because I mean, the more people that are there, the easier the job is, really, I think. This was a bit of a quiet milonga, and relatively many beginner dancers, which is totally fine. But I mean, that was just what it was. And it was also around dinner time, and they were serving food as well there. So some people were starting to eat something, and so not the easiest circumstances to DJ. And I played the Maratona with Carlos Miranda. And when the Tanda started, there were only 3 couples on the dance floor, which is not a lot. And then after two songs, then one of the 3 couples stopped dancing because their meal was served, so they went to eat. And I think that's the one of the very few times that I actually ended the Tanda early and went for something they would like.
But there were a lot of complicating factors there. So
yeah, and I think what I did, I actually put on Goten Project, and the floor was filled.
People of culture.
But yeah, well, and that does come back to because I'm not the biggest fan in the world of Goten Project, although I think the first 2 albums weren't bad at all. After that, everything became repetitive, but that's, I think, with that whole scene. But anyway, but it is an example that you could play perfectly fine the Maratona, which, I mean, I could argue that it's far superior kind of music.
Sure.
I could. You would probably agree.
Probably.
But if it's not what the people want at that point in time, and they want something else, yeah, who am I? You know?
Yeah.
Something else.
So was that in Copenhagen or not?
No.
I'm just kidding.
It was in the Netherlands.
Okay.
I'm not going to say which milonga. No, but no. Yeah, it does happen. It doesn't happen a lot, thankfully. But yeah.
So I actually have another question. So I noticed that you DJ'd in Buenos Aires a few times, and I would be very interested in hearing more about that. Like how it went, whether it was any different from home, just how you experienced it. Just broad question.
Yeah, yeah, it was kind of interested. Well, I got introduced through friends, of course, because you don't go to Buenos Aires and say, hey, I'm a DJ from Europe, can I DJ? I mean, it doesn't work like that. So I think the very first venue where I DJ'd in Buenos Aires was at La Marchand with Augusto Balisano, who organized it through friends of ours. And I don't think he had already heard me DJ once in The Hague when he was in The Hague giving workshops. And when I DJ in Buenos Aires, not like it happens every year because I haven't been there for obvious reasons the last 2 years. I tend to play even a tad more traditional. Like for instance, here I play far more sung tangos than instrumental ones, which is kind of because I tend to like them more, but also it's not a big thing here, and I think in Buenos Aires it's more more important to have these more balanced. So I play more instrumental tandas when I DJ there compared to when I'm DJing here. I mean here, people don't really listen to the lyrics usually. Most of them don't. That's the difference. Let's put it like that. Another thing, waltz tandas, I like to play 4 waltzes in a tanda, which is not the traditional way to do it. So when I DJ in Buenos Aires, I usually play 3 because that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, it's a funny thing. There's so many do's and don'ts and rules and regulations about DJing, which is, a lot of them make sense, and I think there's also people can be real tango snobs about these kind of things, I think. But anyway, but I tend to stick more to the rules when I DJ there, to also show that I know what you're supposed to do or something. I don't know. Let's not take risk on in the heartland of tango. That's one thing. That's kind of different. Another thing, when I DJ'd at El Beso, I DJ'd at Porteño y Bailarín, which is very nice milonga. In El Beso, there's this very strange DJ booth. You enter, and then on your left side there's these stairs up. Well, it's more like a ladder.
Yeah.
the DJ booth, and then from the DJ booth, then in front of you there's the bar, and behind the bar there's the dance floor, and you really have to look to be able to see the dancers. And there's one thing,
maybe bring your binoculars.
Exactly. And you can hardly hear the music. You can hear the music a bit, of course, but you're really far away, and the speakers are, around the dance floor. So the music is always very loud at these these venues, and one of the reasons probably because the DJ can hardly hear the music. And it's very different from being as a DJ being on the floor itself. But in Buenos Aires as well, there are places where you are, on the floor. But in many of the bigger venues, you're more like somewhere behind. Also more anonymous than here almost. Yeah, and one of the things that really make it different is that I was, that serious, not serious, nervous about it. Now when I DJ somewhere, you can do it, and there's always a bit of tension, but okay. But DJing at Porteño y Bailarín for the first time, kind of nerve-wracking. And of course, when you did the first 2 tandas, you see that people start dancing, and everything's fine and cool, and the organizer was happy and everything, so that's totally fine. But yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. There's what I find kind of interesting, but it can be also because of the specific places where I DJ'd. People tend to say that the audience is much more critical and demanding, but that's not really my experience. I found these places very welcoming and friendly, really. It's not really like, I mean, where you hear about people DJing in Buenos Aires, it's sometimes like you have to do an exam or something. Like you have to really prove that, I don't know. I don't find the audience to be that critical. No.
But it must have been a great experience.
Yeah, yeah, it really was, and it was, yeah, and I DJed at various places, quite a few in the tango queer scene, and one very funny place was at El Despelote, which is first floor above a restaurant, and there's all kinds of people going there, also not tango dancers. I mean, there's lots of tango dancers, of course, but also people that just want to hang out there. But they do want to dance, even if they don't dance tango specifically. So so they asked me to play danceable cortinas as well, like things like, you know, salsa, cumbia, whatever. And of course, when you play cumbia in Argentina, then you have to make sure that you play Argentine cumbia and not cumbia from Colombia. So that takes some research as well, but okay. But also rock and roll and everything. And yeah, it was one of the biggest parties that I ever DJ'd at, because I mean, yeah, people were so happy, and it was just like a big party. So yeah, and also in Buenos Aires you can just party. It does exist.
Yeah, there are a lot of different scenes within one city, like what you mentioned, these queer salons or young people salons, like they tend to be a bit more informal than the Milongas del Centro or whatever. So there's different Buenos Aires at the same time.
Yeah,
But I really hope for you that you'll be able to go there again. And yeah, I mean, must have been a great experience. I've never done it, so it's yeah, it's very interesting to hear about it. Yeah, I hope I will. Even though, yeah, I think it's also difficult in one way or another, because there are a lot of unwritten rules about a lot of things, and the more traditional it becomes, the more unwritten rules you have.
Oh yes.
So,
yeah, I mean, there was one venue, and well, there was a bit of a mix-up. So in the end, I didn't DJ there, but we had some contact in advance, and that was really really strict. I mean, apart from you know, the obvious things and the obvious rules, and you know, a waltz standard is just 3 waltzes, not 4. But it was also like no Salamanca, no tangos by De Angelis. You know, De Angelis, you only play the waltzes, and you know, no tangos before 1935, no tangos after 1955. Maybe I'm exaggerating now, but it was very, yeah. These type of venues do exist, which is, again, totally fine, because if you're an organizer and you want to have a very specific concept aimed at a very specific crowd, yeah, perfectly fine. That's what you I mean, that's your product, and that's what you want to do. And if you DJ there, then you know, you either do that or you don't DJ there. or you want to, but something happens in next time.
Yeah, well, maybe if you can travel again, it will be continued.
Yeah, we hope to go again next winter, our winter, their summer.
Okay. So, well, good luck with the rest of your DJ journey here, because that's what you're used to, right?
Yeah.
So this was just a bit of a digression towards Buenos Aires, but it doesn't matter. It's just a much broader thing for you. So good luck with keeping with expanding your empire further. And,
empire.
Yeah. Well, it's I guess
I'm big, but I'm not
like
that big.
Okay. Yeah, and thanks for today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and well, it was really good to hear more about your opinions and experiences, and I hope to continue this with other people as well. So yeah, it's just a good thing to talk about if you're it's a bit more specific even than the usual interviews, but it's for people who like it, it's a great format. Well, thanks for today, and see you next time.
Thank you. See you soon. Time flies. I see.
Yes.
Great. Okay.